I know you will respond.
I'd like to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order. The first order of business is roll call.
Howell? Here. Zapp?
Here.
Long?
Here.
Tough?
Here.
Fleming?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Woodward?
Here.
Quarles?
Here.
Middleton?
Here. We have a quorum. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is, I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 1st, 2018. Long and Fleming. Is there any questions on the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next is presentation of the agenda. I don't have any changes to the agenda. And if there's no one else, I need a motion. Woodward is moving the agenda as presented. Colwell is supporting it. Any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Public comment. I want to welcome Nancy Quarles back.
Can't get rid of me.
I don't know where, did I ever set at this end when you were here before?
No, I was a little turned around when I came in. I almost joined.
Well,
Old habits die hard.
and the reason I do that is McCabe gets behind there by the coffee machine and talks all the time. And Cunningham is disowning him and slipping out the back over there.
Doesn't have a good indoor voice.
Okay, if there's no other public comment, I'll close public comment. The next is, I need a motion to receive and file the contingency report. Colwell is moving it, Quarles is supporting it. Go ahead on the contingency report.
Good morning. On page
Oh,
one.
we have a blue sheet on the contingency report.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So on page 1 of the contingency report, which is page 9 of your PDF, you have a general contingency balance of $50,294. There are no items on today's agenda that impact that amount. And then we'll go to the blue sheet, which is grant match, and it just changes the amount. It's item number 11 on the agenda, which is the first quarter forecast and budget amendments.
Okay, page 7 on the.
Yes, it's page 7 blue sheet, which would have been page 15 of your PDF, but so the amount is $18,606, leaving a balance of $1.3 million. And then on page 10 of your report, which is page 18 of your PDF, there are 2 items impacting assigned fund balance. Item number 7 for Corporation Counsel and Risk Management, using technology replacement and hardware, assigned fund balance in the amount of $100,000. And then item number 9 for facilities management and planning and engineering and probate court, using unfunded mandate amount of $164,136.
Okay. Any questions on contingency report? If not, all those in favor receive and file signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, we'll go to communications. And I'm going to take up communications A, B, and C all together. Need a motion to receive and file. Long is moving it, Crawford is supporting it. So, any questions on communications? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, we're on the regular agenda. Item number 1, Oakland County Circuit Court interlock agreement between Oakland County and the Oakland Community Health Network for Adult Treatment Court. Need a motion. Helene is moving it, and Tom is supporting it. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Good morning.
Morning.
My name is John Cooper-Eder. I'm the court's business manager, and to my left is Pam Monville. She's the manager of our civil criminal division. We're here for an interlocal agreement between the court and Oakland Community Health Network to provide peer recovery coach services for our adult treatment court. Peer recovery coaches are kind of a new popular tool that the drug courts are using these days to help with their participants' recovery services. And the money that we have set aside was already approved in a grant award with the State Court Administrative Office to pay for these services for the recovery coach. And so we're looking forward to getting started upon your approval.
Okay. We have a blue sheet on item number 1, and it's basically description 2.2.2 scope of service rather than peer recovery, and 2.2.3 is should be Roman numeral number 3 and contractors' insurance obligations. So those are changes. Commissioner Zach, you have a question?
Can you just tell me a little bit about this program, because it's unique? So we're paying peer coaches to help, people that are in treatment court?
Yeah. This is new for us. We've never
Right.
done this before.
That's
So
what I wanna know about.
yeah. Well, we're going to, Pam, do you want to speak a little bit?
Yeah, basically the peer recovery coach is a person who went through a drug treatment program in the past and is sober for 2 years, and will help with the participants to help them, guide them through the program and be their support. What they'll do is come to our adult treatment court team meetings, be part of the team, advise the team members of how this participant is doing or what this participant needs, so that the drug court treatment team in total can help the person better.
I'm glad we're trying this. Long-standing, the sponsor in AA, so it's taking it, and there's a lot of sober coaches in other places. So I'm glad we're trying this innovative model. And it's also good to sustain the recovery of the people,
Correct.
of the graduates too, to be able to help others. So I'd like to hear more about how it's going later on.
Good.
Sure.
Great.
Any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 1.
Caldwell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long? Yes. Cobb?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford? Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Next is
Thank
item
you.
number 2.
Thank you.
Sheriff's Office, contract amendment for, amendment number 1 for law enforcement services for Addison Township for 2017-2018. Need a motion. Cobb is moving, Fleming is supporting it. And this was reviewed by Public Services on March 31st, and with an automatic referral to Finance. So,
This
go
will
ahead.
take Addison Township back to 6 deputies with Phil versus 4 with Phil and 2 no Phil. If you like, I can explain the difference between Phil and no Phil. Okay. A Phil contract basically guarantees 2,080 hours of a deputy. So they pay a lot more than a no Phil contract. Dale, how much more is it? 12, 13,000?
This is, the difference in price for them
Yeah.
contractually is about $40,000.
Okay, so it's about 20,000 per cap. But what it does is it guarantees, so if a deputy calls in sick, he gets a replacement. The township doesn't have to pay for overtime. In the no-fill contract, if they wanted to fill them, then we would bill them for the overtime. It's a little more convenient for them to do this, but it's more expensive. It's full cost recovery. But it's restoring them to where they were originally before the cutbacks in 2008.
Do contracts that have a smaller number of deputies use that, and the ones
The only
with
two
a
no-fill,
large staff?
yeah, the only 2 no-fill contracts we really have are Springfield Township.
There's only 2 fill contracts.
Oh, I'm sorry, fill, the vast majority use no-fill.
Yeah,
Okay, the smaller communities like Addison and Springfield go with the fill contracts.
okay. So they don't have as many people to be able to
Correct,
shuffle
there's
around.
6 deputies and a sergeant in Addison, there's 11, counting the sergeant, in Springfield.
Yeah. With 6, how many do they have on patrol?
1 to 2, it depends. This will basically add about 600 hours of patrol time per year for them.
Okay. So, any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 2.
Slow down there now.
Yes.
Long? Yes. Cobb?
Yes.
Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Caldwell. Yes. Middleton,
Yes,
You can
motion
stay.
carried. Thank you.
Dave's gonna move.
Next is item number 3, Public Service, Animal Control, and Sheriff's
You're gonna do
Office. The transfer of dispatch services from Animal Control to the Sheriff's Office and position deletion and creation. And this was reviewed by Human Resources yesterday and passed unanimously. Todd is moving it, and Quarles is supporting it. So,
The Sheriff's Office is doing a huge favor for Director Newman and Bobcat, and I will let Director Newman explain it.
Currently, the Sheriff's Office dispatches for our animal control operations all but 40 hours a week, all except for the day shift Monday through Friday. So what we're proposing is to have the Sheriff's Office take over and do it for us all the time. It'll give us better continuity of service and oversight. There's a lot of good reasons to do that. In doing that, we proposed to delete the 2 current dispatch positions and create 1 office assistant position, which will pick up the duties that the dispatchers perform. All the employees at the animal control have been placed. There's been no loss of jobs, so we're happy about that. And overall, it's a savings of a little over $16,000 to do this move.
okay, I have Commissioner Long, and then Commissioner Taub, and then Commissioner Woodward.
That was my question, a human resource question, if the 2 people, if we delete it, had their jobs.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Taub.
you dispatch throughout the entire county then?
For all the municipalities that use Oakland County Animal Control, some still have their own.
Okay. So if you have your own animal control, you don't handle it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I mean, this move makes a lot of sense to me. It's why hasn't this always been the practice?
I can't answer that.
Blame Larry Obrecht.
It was way before Larry.
Because it invites the other question, like, are there other instances in which I'll be asking, why haven't we always done it this way? So, all right, okay. I just don't know. I mean, no, okay.
Okay. Okay,
Oh,
if
it's
there's
20
no other
years.
questions, Woodward's still pondering one, but if there's no other questions, we'll call the roll.
Long,
Yes.
Taub? Yes. Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Caldwell? Yes. Zach,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 4, miscellaneous Parks and Rec, amendment number 2, Oakland County 4-H Association Agreement, Springfield Oaks. You need a motion. Long is moving it, Quarles is supporting it. So, go ahead, Dan.
Good morning. Dan Stenzel, Executive Officer for Oakland County Parks. To my left is Melissa Prouse, our Supervisor of Planning and Resource Development, and Jeff Phelps, our Fiscal Services. This is a second amendment of an agreement that goes back to August of 2016 with the Oakland County 4-H Fair Association. We have a existing water tower that is the primary source of water distribution for the grounds at the activity center and the 4-H Fair grounds. It is in it is in need of some service, and as part of an opportunity to provide a reliable water source, we're putting in several wells. This will be the first. The Fair Association was able to receive a Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development grant for about $14,000, along with $25,000 contribution from the Fair Association. The total project is $168,000. And they also will provide some labor to support the project. So it's been a great relationship with the fair. I think it goes back almost 50 years now, and the fairgrounds gets a lot of activity out there and something that needs to be improved.
Okay, any questions? Yes, Commissioner Quarles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I was looking at this, the actual construction will take place in 2020?
Part of the construction is going to happen later on this fall, and then there's an additional phase where we're looking at putting in another well so that we have backup to the existing system.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? If not, call the roll. Well, Commissioner Woodward.
Obviously, these improvements specifically for, to help with the fair and all that type of stuff, but it would have ongoing utility for what any other need that water is required. Correct?
Absolutely.
So it's, okay.
Okay, any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 4.
Tom? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Zia?
Yes.
Long? Yes. Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is Parks and Rec, support an application for the 2018 Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for replacement of a fishing pier, boat launch, and dock at Orion Oaks County Park. And this was reviewed by Planning and Building on March 13th. So Crawford is moving it, Colwell is supporting it. So go ahead, Dan.
Yep, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Melissa Prouse will give you the details of this project, but again, both of the two grants that we're bringing you today are leveraging resources to replace assets that have seen their functional life, and now we need to upgrade them according to current standards.
So just to kind of summarize the project, this is our 2018 application to the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is actually federal National Park Service money that comes to us through the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. We are applying for a $65,500 grant, which is 50% of the total project cost, which is the requirement for Land and Water is that it be an exact 50-50 match. And as Dan mentioned, these facilities are failing. They need to be replaced very badly. It's currently forecast for 2020. So it's a fishing pier and then also a concrete boat ramp and attached dock to that boat ramp. And part of the improvements will also be improving a couple of the parking spaces in that parking lot to make them ADA accessible, and then the pathway from the parking lot to the fishing pier as well. And just one more note to mention, we did a countywide resident survey in 2017, and some of the top things that came up were water access, boating and fishing access, and then continuing to repair and replace our existing infrastructure. So this aligns very nicely with that.
Okay, any questions? If not, call the roll. Oh, wait, Commissioner Taub has a question.
Yeah, there are a couple of piers that are being replaced at Orion Oaks. I think the next item is as well. I have a question for you. I can remember when they were put in, that long ago. Is there any way that we can find a different type of material that might be more, hold up a little bit better? Or are any of these piers removable so that they're not there during the cool winter months?
I'm trying to find the date of when. Yeah, the fishing pier at Orion has been there for quite a while, longer than we had anticipated. I think, 25. It's 25 years old is how long that's been in the water. The fishing piers themselves.
I think that's long enough for a pier.
The way we build them, it's not feasible to remove them in the winter. The docks we have, I think, in some places started doing that. I think the one at Orion does come out in the winter, but it's still, again, just kind of reached the end of its useful life. The wood is crumbling, and the floats on the floating dock are kind of sinking into the water, so they just need to be replaced.
Are you talking at Orion? Yeah, the one that was done with the Friends of Orion Oaks and the Telephone Pioneers. That's the one that's being replaced.
Is it in this resolution or the next one?
In this one.
The next one's for Independence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and quite often the floating piers is because the drop off of the property right off in the water is too great, but I've used the fishing pier at the north end of Orion Oaks Park. And they're shallow enough where they can put piling right all the way down and build a structure that misses that ice and snow. So, any other discussion on item number 5? If not, call the roll.
Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Taub? Yes. Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is Parks and Rec, support of an application for the 2018 Recreation Passport Grant for replacement of boathouse, dock, and deck at Independence Oaks County Park to be reviewed by Planning and Building on March 13th. Long is moving it, Quarles is supporting it. So, and it's at Independence is where I fished
It
on the
is,
North
yes.
Lake.
So this is the 2018 application to the Recreation Passport Program. This is the program that comes from funding when you buy your $11 vehicle passport for your license. When you renew your license, that gets you into all the state parks. Some of that money gets set aside for this grant program, which is really geared towards the renovation of existing parks across the state of Michigan. So this project lines up nicely with that. It is for the deck that's attached to the boathouse at Independence Oaks, and then that floating dock system where we rent our canoes and our kayaks and paddle boats. And again, just kind of the same situation. They've reached the end of their useful life and they need to be replaced and repaired. I think the deck is original to the boathouse construction, so it's been there for quite some time.
Over 40 years.
So we're looking for $92,900, which again is 50% of the project cost. And this project and the previous project are both scheduled for 2020. So we wouldn't receive this funding. We wouldn't know if we received it until the end of this year. Grant agreement in place mid-year next year. So it's a 2020 forecasted project.
Okay, any questions? Commissioner Taub, did you vote on that the first time?
No, I wasn't here.
Okay.
Voted on the other one, though. Thank you.
If there's no questions, I'll call the roll.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Taub? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 7, Corporate Counsel, Risk Management, Matter Management System and Access Database Replacement Project. Need a motion. Taub is moving it, Cowell is supporting it. So, go ahead, Joanne.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to ask you to please appropriate funds for a project that's already approved in the IT master plan. This is to replace a database from 1995, which is the same year my 22-year-old son was born. He's grown a lot. He's changed a lot in 22 years. This database has not. And it really hinders our ability to get information from old assignments. So that's one part of it, and this database is shared by our office and Risk, so they will also get the new database. But it's also to improve our workflow and how assignments come into our office. Some departments hand deliver, most of them email it to us, but a lot of times all the information we need is not part of that. And to quote Judy Cunningham, I do not want my office to be hunters and gatherers. We spend a long time hunting and gathering information, and we're hoping that this will automate the process so that when the information comes in, first of all, if it relates to a contract, you'll need to attach the contract. You'll get an error message that that's not there. Secondly, it'll automatically go into an assignment file number, and that we won't have to scan or put things in ourselves. Then it will send a notice to the department, this is who it's been assigned to. So it's really going to improve the process. Plus, if the department needs to send something to Risk and Corp Counsel, they can do that at the same time.
Any questions? Well, I mean, when we have something that was before the turn of the century that we adopted, and it's about time to change it, so. If no other questions, call the roll on item number 7.
Woodward,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Cowell. Yes. Zach,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Tubb. Yes. Fleming,
Yes.
Crawford,
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes, motion carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 8, Department of Facilities Management, approval of acceptance of a joint project agreement with the U.S. Department of Commerce for the use of space allocated in Annex building, Annex 1 building. So, Long is moving it, Taub is supporting it, so go ahead, Dan.
Good morning. Seeking your approval for the joint project agreement. It's like a one-stop shop for the folks at the U.S. Department of Commerce. Our business development team works with these folks a lot. Companies that we work with in Oakland County, we're constantly encouraging them with products that they manufacture, or even services, to look to export. And so Richard Corson and his team, there's 4 individuals. They're right here on the campus, and we work very closely with them. Thanks to facilities for trying to track this thing down, and it takes a while to get signatures through DC. But happy to answer any questions.
So just to give you some background, this agreement is a 1-year agreement, and the Department of Commerce only allows 1 year. So we started this back in last year, and it took all the way to this year to get it signed. So I'll be coming. I'm going to start this one much earlier for the next year. Yeah, right now, right? So so this actually goes until September of this year. But I know it's a renewal that.
Okay, Commissioner Taub.
Yeah, that was part of my question. My goodness gracious. September, 6 months away. Have they been in the buildings?
They've been there many years,
Okay.
so
This is a continuation. It's a continuation.
it's really like a continuation. It's really like a renewal.
Now, it
So
says in the number 3 in the resolution, the last part of the sentence there, may be amended at any time by written agreement of the parties. Can you just amend this? Or does it have to go then back to Washington and get a signature?
well, the agreement is their agreement, so there's not much that can be changed in it. But I'll look into that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
That's number 3 of the fiscal note, not the resolution, but of the
Yeah,
fiscal note.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if it can be amended, maybe we can just amend it here and get all those signatures. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, that's good. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, call the roll on item number 8.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long? Yes. Tubb? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 9, facilities management. Well, yes, Nancy, Commissioner Quarles.
Yes.
Dan, don't leave yet.
No,
Just- Okay.
This is a simple question. I forgot. Where's the Annex 1?
Oh, Dan, where's Annex 1?
Pardon?
Where's Annex 1?
It's right across from IT.
Oh,
It's the Emergency Operations Center.
Okay. They're
Thank
they're
you.
behind the farmer's market. then.
oh, okay. I apologize about the one that didn't know.
Okay. Okay, now we'll go to item number 9. Good question, though, Nancy. Facility, item number 9, did we get a vote on it? Okay. Facilities management, facility planning and engineering, probate courtroom ingress and egress flow enhancement project. And that was reviewed by Planning and Building on March 13th. Need a motion. Now Crawford is moving it, Quarles is supporting it, so go ahead.
All right. Hi, thank you for having us today. My name is Judge Kathleen Ryan. I'm the Chief Judge of Probate Court, and I am here to represent the Probate Court today. The whole proposal is to widen the ingress and egress because right now that portion of the building is the oldest portion of this building. And the courtrooms weren't designed to, at that time, to accommodate the volume and the particular needs of probate court. Probate numbers are up, and so what happens is it's not uncommon to have 8 wheelchairs in a courtroom at a time, not to mention walkers, canes, crutches. Sometimes we have gurneys. And right now, you can only get 1 wheelchair in. Nobody can leave.
Oh, wow.
And you can't get an ingress and egress. We have to stop between hearings, and you have to do a wheelchair shuffle. And it sometimes, and the doors are they're too narrow, and now wheelchairs are wider. So they can't get out. A couple times, I feel like they lose their dignity. They're kind of a spectacle, and they're standing there waiting for somebody to help them. And one incident, we had somebody actually soil themselves because they couldn't get out of the courtroom in time because it takes a good 10 minutes to rearrange all the wheelchairs. So to widen those aisleways would be very, very helpful and allow for, our most vulnerable adults and citizens some dignity. Additionally, the doorways, I believe part of the proposal is the hardware. Right. So you can push a button and the door will open on its own. So these individuals, because we have, probate compromises of elderly, vulnerable, disabled, mentally ill. So we just have a lot at once. Think about a hospital has more disabled persons than a business. Mm-hmm. So we have big volume. And so it would be very nice to make it more user-friendly and more respectful to our citizens. And that's the nutshell. I could go on forever because it's a passion of mine, but I won't bore you, so I'll
so just real quick, not that you need any more convincing after that explanation, but it will involve 4 courtrooms, and as the judge mentioned, we're going to widen the doors, provide some better hardware on the doors, provide wider aisles in each of those 4 courtrooms, and also create some space for wheelchairs in the public seating area.
Yeah, that's one thing. We don't have any place to, once the wheelchair gets in, there's no place to put them because there's no place to put them, so they just sit in the aisleway and people kind of walk around. And so this would be very helpful.
Okay. I have questions from Commissioner Zach, Taub, and Fleming. So Commissioner Zach.
So this is long overdue, and I'm thrilled that we're doing it. But my concern is this is a great improvement, but are we really resolving the issue of space for the probate court? Is this like a short-term stopgap, until we do what we need to do, or will this solve our problem?
That is a loaded question.
I want to know that we're serving. I want to know that we're serving our vulnerable residents, citizens of Oakland County in the way that they deserve. And that's
I'm going to defer to Art since he's more of the facility guy. I only know my little bubble, so Art knows more.
This is meant to literally address the ingress, egress needs of the court based on the issues that the judge just explained to you. In terms of making the courtrooms bigger, that is a much larger project that is not currently on our currently in the capital improvement plan. There have been discussions about that. There have even been some preliminary plans drawn up for that, but currently that's not in the capital improvement plan.
So by doing this, do we have space if you have 4 wheelchair people? Is there room to accommodate the people that come to your courtroom at one time?
With these improvements, yes. Because they would take some seating space out from the general public, but they're able-bodied, and they can stand in the hallway and wait, and so yes, it would take some pews out, but yes, there'd be spaces all in the front for them to be able to be placed.
Okay, so short-term it resolves the most immediate things, long-term addressing it. Do we need more space in the probate, or will we, or?
Right. There are longer-term improvements that could be made. Those courtrooms are by far the smallest in the whole complex here, courthouse complex. So to make those bigger, obviously would require much more major renovations.
Thank you.
Okay. Next I have Taub and then Fleming.
Okay, so now, and obviously I support this, that goes without saying, however, we have other courtrooms in the old building that also lack this type of space. Are we going to then go into those? Because we certainly have people in the non-probate section who come in wheelchairs. What are the plans for that, Art? Either one of you.
Primarily referring to the tower where all the circuit courtrooms are?
Yeah.
So the judge would know better about the type of clientele that is different between circuit court and probate court. But from what I understand, the circuit court doesn't face these types of challenges that probate does. And so these issues have not been brought up to us from a circuit court perspective. Plus the circuit courtrooms in the tower are considerably larger than the probate courtrooms in the east wing.
Right, yeah, most of the circuit court, or a lot of the circuit court rooms have double doors now, and the, I would just, I guess, reflect what Art said, and that is that, you know, the clientele is different, the courtrooms are much larger. You know, there may be some minor issues, and those are being looked at, but nothing that, nothing like this.
And if it does happen in the circuit court towers, it doesn't happen, it's rare, and it can be accommodated for that one wheelchair. Probate, it happens daily. I mean, that's the nature of probate. And when the building was built in the 60s, probate was a very, very small court, and it wasn't a big deal. But as the baby boomers are getting older and probate, its jurisdiction expanded, nobody anticipated that, of course. So now it's just just more people. So.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are these buildings ADA compliant now? Because I hear about doorways that wheelchairs won't fit through and so forth. So that's a concern of mine. We talk a lot about everything being compliant.
Right, so
a lot of money in that regard. So
I'm going to answer that the best that I can here, and that would be to say that when the buildings were built, they were compliant with the current code. Because of that, in most situations, we are compliant. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't areas that we can renovate and try to make them more accessible for today's public, but we are, you know, looking into whatever improvements we can in all locations.
And all renovation projects that we do are fully ADA compliant. We consider all life safety codes, fire egress paths, and everything. And as Ed pointed out, when the buildings were constructed, everything was in compliance. Those codes change over time, and we do our best to keep up with those codes.
But we are grandfathered in on, you know, on what was done in the past, and so again, anything new is compliant, and we're making improvements to make things more accessible.
thank you.
Okay, I have Commissioner Woodward and then Todd for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we had two things. One, are we doing more than the bare minimum? I guess that's my first question. Are we doing more than the bare minimum? I want accessibility as a priority, and are there things that we're not doing that we could do that might cost a little bit more? That's the, I mean, what aren't we doing that we might be able to do to make this situation better?
So if you look in the capital budget, I think there's like $125 million of needs that we don't have funded. So there's a lot of things that we could be doing, but we just don't have the funding. So I guess this is just a perfect example of not letting perfection be the enemy of the good. And right now we're trying to do what we can with the limited sources of funding while we still have conversations about refining our capital improvement plan as funding becomes available so that we could try to go towards perfection.
I understand that. I understand that. I also understand that this is a vulnerable population that deserves more than kind of fitting in the context of everything. So I guess I'm pushing the priority up, just me by myself. So I guess that's my question. Are there things that we consider that we're not doing that we should be doing?
Yeah, well, I can tell you that in my department right now, that what you're talking about is a very high priority. It's one of the highest priority things on our list. So we are evaluating all areas prioritizing that. Like Lori said, we're doing what we can with the funding that we have. We're also doing as much as we can with the facilities that we have, right? I mean, some of these facilities that are built, you know, decades ago will allow us to make some improvements, but some, you know, improvements to make it 100% perfect just are not feasible unless we tear the building down and build a new building, so.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Todd.
Yes, I have a question.
Oh, wait, did you have a second question?
I do, but I'll wait after Commissioner Todd.
Okay.
Thank you. So the second question is not so much the courtroom, which is what we're talking about here, which, I mean, these are incredible improvements that are long overdue. But I do have, and I raised this when we did the front here, accessibility issues from people who come. Like, how do, like, someone in a wheelchair, like, how far do they have to travel to get into this building? Like, and this is, I guess I'm asking, I don't know if there's an answer yet, but I would like us to put some energy to figure out, is there a way to make that easier? Because if you're in a wheelchair and you're parked across, I mean, it's a distance.
Right now, there's only 2 general entrances, and it's the north or the south, and we're on the east. Judge Hallmark's on the west, and Judge O'Brien, Callahan, and myself are on the east side. So you have to come through the, you know, whichever, south or north entrance, and then,
But to park the car.
Yeah.
Oh, to park the
Yeah,
car.
yeah, I mean, that's why
That's
I
facility. I thought you were talking
I know,
about the
exactly.
building. I
No,
was
I
like-
understand. I understand that. I mean, it's just like,
Sorry.
there is no place to park the car closely. And there's not even really a space to pull off to help a wheelchair person get
Right,
off by the
yeah,
door.
so I can tell you that when we do these assessments, they're all encompassing, right? And we start from them entering the complex. So when we
I
do the
understand.
assessment, we start from where they park, and really that becomes the higher priority all the way through getting to the entrance, you know, getting into the space, and then getting to the courtrooms or wherever it may be. As you know, another one of our top priorities is security. So we're constantly challenged with that struggle of being able to get people close to the building, like you're saying, but yet keeping a safe clear zone from the building too, so that people with ill intentions can't get a vehicle too close to the building. So it is a very high priority for us. We are very aware of it. We do have to overcome some challenges again because of some of those conflicts, but it's very much a part of these assessments.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Commissioner Todd.
Okay, how many courtrooms are in that building? Just the 4?
In the east wing.
Yeah.
For probate.
There's 4 probate, and I believe 3 circuit upstairs on the 2nd floor.
Yes.
And that's just in the east wing.
Okay, so do those 3 circuit, are they as small, they up? No.
They're
No,
bigger.
they're-
Second floor is
they're the
fuller
larger
because
ones, yeah.
the first floor of probate is, it's just totally, it's differently designed than the second floor. The second floor, would you agree, because you're the facility, but the second floor is more like the tower.
Yeah, in terms of the courtroom.
In terms of the
And you have how many
courtroom.
judges?
4. We have 4 probate judges.
Okay, and so all 4 judges are gonna go into those 4 courtrooms?
No, we have 1 in the west wing, and we have 3 on the east wing, and there's another courtroom that is utilized about, I'd say about 60% of the time between the juvenile referees use it, our county clerk uses it for weddings, there's hearings in there, there's training sessions, because the courtrooms are so small, it can't, and the hallways are so small, we can't accommodate two judges
But
there.
you're still going to review all 4 of them, even though you got only 3 judges there, I guess. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Long.
Well, we were discussing this, where are they supposed to drop off now? Because now you have that gate, because I took Commissioner Kowal just for elections, and she had to walk so far with her cane and stuff. Where are we supposed to drop off handicap? Because now you guys put that gate, that security gate there, which I think is unnecessary, that's personal opinion, but,
I second the motion.
I love adding my personal opinions. This week is my week to do that. You can have my family.
You got opinions?
A lot of personal opinions this week. Yeah, so, but where are they supposed to drop them off now? Because it is far now away from there. That's not judge's fault, that's a facilities thing too.
Thank you.
You keep your explanation indoors, you know.
I'm out now.
But that is a far, you know, because they put that gate there now, and do they go over to the, what way is this, west?
East.
No, east. East, are they supposed to go over to the east by that sidewalk, or where are they supposed to drop off people now?
So when we put handicap spots in, we put them as close as we possibly can to the main entrances. And so if you go to the due north, we have handicap spots right outside where that loop is, by where that gate is that we put in. And then to the east, there are handicap spots lining, in an L shape, lining that parking lot adjacent to the sidewalk that comes right into the north entrance there. So yes, that would be the closest place for them to drop off, would be in that northeast parking lot.
All right, so somehow I think also we need a drop-off spot. I mean, I know we have to take security into account, but that is unreasonable for people to have to park that far with a handicapped person. I only had Commissioner Cole on, it was unreasonable. She did manage, but I mean, if you have those wheelchairs are huge now, and it's a big job getting them out. I mean, everyone has to see people trying to get a loved one out of their car and how long it takes in the big wheelchair and stuff. So I would hope that we would have in a plan something secure for, you know, the building, but more convenient for handicapped people to get dropped off somewhere.
That's something I can talk to the sheriff's office
Okay.
about.
Yep, so, okay, any other questions? If not, call the roll. Commissioner Colwell.
I just wanted to wish the judge happy St. Patty's Day.
All right, this is the type of board meeting I like.
2 days before, I was actually wondering, where's her green already?
I've got a banner in my office.
Okay, if there's no other discussion on item number 9, we will call the roll.
Colwell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Tubb? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item
Thank
number
you.
10, Economic Development and Community Affairs Resolution approving the provision of a brownfield plan for the 700 Wixom Road Project, City of Novi, to be reviewed by the EDC Committee on March 13th, 2018. Commissioner Crawford is moving it. Commissioner Woodward is supporting it. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Brownfield project in Novi, former industrial property that is going residential. Location off of Wixom Road, which is right off of Grand River in Wixom, just west of Providence Park. This development actually has a trail for the residents to get over to Providence Park. Not a road, but some sort of a bike or pedestrian trail, which is pretty cool. So for the details, I'll turn it over to Brad Hansen, what this brownfield entails.
Okay.
Good morning. This property at 26700 Wixom Road is 26 acres. Dates back historically to current operations, which is a steel operation, to 1940. Currently, there's a 39,000 square foot building on the site. Obviously, that will be demoed, and the 43 duplexes will be built, totaling 86 total units. This is an age-targeted community, so it's 55 plus, so they'll be targeting empty nesters and classification they call active adults. It is Pulte Homes of Michigan who is actually doing the development. It's a $30 million investment with $934,000 in eligible activities to be reimbursed back to the developer. That's basically cleaning up the land. And I want to point out that this is indeed a facility. It is a contaminated site with the operations dating back. So there's some VOCs and PCBs that need to be cleaned up. And with residential standards, that's the highest level of cleanup you need. So they'll do the work they need to get that cleaned up. Like I said, it's a $30 million investment. Current base value is roughly $1.2 million, and when this project is completed, roughly 2021, the new taxable value is $18.7 million. So that payback period is going to be very short. I believe it's a 4-year payback period, which is pretty quick for a brownfield plant.
Yeah. The environmental study, before they started, they think they feel they can clean it up to meet that higher standard.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Woodward.
I mean, this was it was a question that came up in economic development. I don't know if we knew for certain. It was a question like, is this new development, is it all market rate? housing, or I mean, are there considerations for low-income families to be part of it? And the reason I bring it up is that particularly since there's a public investment that's joining this, I think that there's an appropriate public question to be asked to make sure it's accessible to the public.
We've seen nothing in the plan that indicates that, they're looking at, I think, 1,500, 1,800 square foot market rate for this, older adult community. That's not to say that we haven't seen anything that addresses that particular issue.
So since that meeting, it's getting me thinking, can we require it as a condition of our participation?
We probably could.
We couldn't do it in a brownfield plan. There's no avenue for that in a brownfield plan, just because it cleans up. What you typically will see it in is a development agreement with the city and the developer, or a reimbursement agreement, but more typically a development agreement with the city of Novi, who would, I'd like to point out the city of Novi, we need 2 resolutions from them of support of this project, so it's gone to their city council as well. So typically that's what you'll see, is if the city has a development agreement with the developer as far as what they would like to see on the site.
Oh, I think I could do it here too, but I get it, I understand that.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, call the roll on item number 10.
Share?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Cobb? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Kowal? Yes. Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 11, Department of Management Budget, fiscal year 2018, first quarter financial report and budget amendment. And we have a blue sheet on it. And I gotta dig down to my blue sheets. We skipped over that. Does everybody's have a, no, you got the dark numbers. Remember in
it was mentioned during the contingency.
yeah, that 18606 number that was transposed in the contingency report. So this is where that's showing up.
So it changes a whereas statement in the resolution, and then the schedules, Schedule A and Schedule B, are amended to change the dollar amount from 18,806 to 18,606.
Yeah. So, okay. We need a motion to report to the board, don't we? Okay, Kowal and Top. So go ahead.
Good morning. So this is our first quarter forecast. Which is kind of funny. We're already reporting on this, and we're just wrapping up our audit with the auditors this week, and we'll be presenting that, our year-end audit report, to you probably in April. So with the first quarter forecast, we're projecting favorability of approximately $13.8 million, and that is comprised of 2 items. That's comprised of favorable revenue of about $1.9 million and favorable expenditures of about $11.8 million. So we do budget for full employment. So we do, in our fiscal plans, do project to have favorability on the expenditure side, because it's not physically and it's not possible to really have all those positions filled as budgeted. So as far as the revenues are concerned, we do have unfavorable state revenue, and again, that's related to, as has happened in the past, it's related to our reimbursement from the state for child care fund operations. And that is more than offset by favorable expenditures within the child care fund. Again, we budget at more or less worst case scenario, and we do have favorability in the child care fund operation. Other intergovernmental revenue, we do have favorability. As mentioned with the year-end report, we receive personal property tax loss reimbursement from the state that we have to project. The last couple of years, we have projected to receive 100% reimbursement. In 2016, we actually received 265% reimbursement, and in 2017, as noted with the year-end report, we received 285% reimbursement. We do not expect this to continue. I mean, we're actively looking at this now to figure out a way to fix that, so we don't have, I mean, certainly we're welcoming the one-time gain here, and we're actually going to use that favorability of $1.7 million for a one-time type item. In this forecast is a budget amendment to use that $1.7 million to transfer that to the Animal Control Debt Service Fund to further the $7 million transfer that we made a couple years ago. So this will cover debt service into 2025. We pay about $1 million a year in debt service. That's per the debt schedule. So this gets us another almost 1 3/4 years worth of debt service payments. So that is an amendment that is included in this this resolution. And then we also have favorability on charges for services. We are seeing favorable revenue coming in from the district courts, as well as Children's Village Child Care Fund for board and care. If you refer to page 23 or PDF page 357 of the packet, that gives you the summary of the projections for the fiscal year. We are expecting to have a couple of departments that are currently projected to be overall unfavorable for the year. One of them being the sheriff's office, and that is the continuation of their need for overtime use because of the large vacancy rate that they have in the sheriff's office and their need to maintain adequate staffing within the jail. So we'll be looking at that with this budget process, their overtime needs, and addressing it. We have in the past been able to cover that offset. They've had expenditure favorability that we've been able to use, and we've also used favorable revenue from inmate phone commission revenue that we had around $600,000 favorability last year. We are projecting that we will most likely have that again this year. The other department is facilities management. They had reviewed all of their PC assignments within their operation. They have, facilities management has two funding sources. They have a general fund operation and a facilities maintenance and operations fund, which is a proprietary fund. And they found that some of those PCs were incorrectly assigned to the FM&O fund and should have been to the general fund. So that's, we're projecting an unfavorability for them of around $17,000. We will make an amendment at, with third quarter or fourth quarter this year if that trend continues, and that allocation for the IT operations will be corrected with this next budget process. You'll notice that we did also have within the resolution, we have a, which is, let's see, page 4 and 5, which is 338 and 339. We had a couple grants that were under $10,000 that we're reporting to administratively. One was for animal control, which was from Bissell, which I believe was around, let's see here. I think that was around $8,000. And then we had a $10,000 grant within the economic development area that we're accepting. Those still have to go through the grant review process, so they are reviewed by the county administration, corporation counsel, risk management, and HR to make sure that they meet our requirements. They just don't require a separate resolution because of our new grant review procedures or authorization on that review. That's pretty much it. There's some cleanup that we're doing with amendment-wise, just shifting line items around. But with the first quarter forecast, we usually don't have too much that's significant. The only thing being that $1.7 million that we're using for animal control debt service, as mentioned earlier. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Taub.
Well, I think I'm going to start backwards because sorry about that. I'm going to start on page 417, which is page 83 in the document. And you know what? We've written off $1.5 million now in the past 2 quarters. I'm just saying that I think that those of us who are in economic development ought to be looking at this. Something isn't right. I get it, people have reverses, they can't afford to pay their loans or whatever. But I think that it's not the finance yet, but I think we need to look at the process that we're using. Because if people are so poor, if they can't afford, their homes are worthless, and we're losing money on this, there has to be a better system of doing this. So that's all I'm saying. And then I'm gonna go way back to the resolution, which is gonna take me forever, I think. But, just a minute, let me go back to, I start in the very beginning. I can find it. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. So long. Okay, do you want to have someone else, and then you can come back to me, because I'm just looking for the resolution.
Do we have the original amount loaned? I mean, we have the amount forgiven, but we don't have the amount of the original loan yet.
No, we don't, and we don't know where these places are.
Well, yeah, we know they're Hazel Park or
I know, I
Eagle.
understand that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Okay, oh, but you don't know the address.
No, we don't know the address, and quite frankly, in the past we got it, now apparently there's something that you can't reveal it.
Like privacy.
Yeah, privacy. Well, to a certain extent, yes, to a certain extent, no. This is the taxpayer dollars. I get it. There's so many millions of dollars in the fund, so it doesn't matter. We're better than the banks. I get that too. But this is a revolving fund, and I keep saying that. The more money we have in that revolving fund, the more people
we can service, yeah.
Okay, and the idea is that it's repaid, and then we can help more people. Okay, so that being said, I have to go way back to the resolution, and I'm not getting there. So please, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll
Okay.
let you go on, then I'll raise my hand again.
Okay, I have Commissioner Woodward next.
Thank you. The first thing, I just want to get clarification because it pops up a lot. I mean, I'm a fan of Fire and Ice. Is this the total cost of what we do?
No, it's not. This is
not.
No, and I believe I sent you information before. I can resend that.
Right.
But this is, we recognize the the sponsorships as they come in to offset the expenses.
Oh, so this is money coming in to us
Yes.
to offset those expenses. Got it.
So we're making an amendment for that, and I don't have that documentation that I've sent before,
Okay,
but I
right.
can.
Yeah.
What page, John?
This is it's of the PDF 338. It's at the bottom. I've asked this question, just trying to figure out what does this thing cost, and in our investment, and I support it. I just trying to.
And I can resend that information.
That would be great. Yeah, but what you said that includes this, or.
I think what I sent to you before was through fiscal 2017, and we can just rerun the information.
Perfect. That'd be great. Thank you. And the same thing. I understand what Commissioner Top is talking about, and I think if we look in a vacuum, it's like we want all these loans to be paid back. The thing is that if you're going to run a loan program, you have to accept a loan loss component. It's not a perfect system, and particularly when we're talking about a loan program that helps economically depressed areas, there's exposure, and when the property doesn't have enough equity in it, that's the risk. And so, I just want to say for the record is that in terms of the percentage of loan loss, it is very, very small. Even though $1.5 million over the total, sounds like a lot of money until you consider the entire scope of the program, and that's for the entire program. It's a relatively small. You cannot get blood out of a turnip. And then the argument is that, do we increase loan requirements for individual homes? The reality is, even though there's a loan loss that reports, that shows up on this balance sheet, but these were things that went in to fix a roof and improve property, and that has a ripple effect through the community of helping lift up housing stock and those other types of things. And so it's really important. I think it's perfectly appropriate to continue to look at this, look at our lending practices, making our best estimate. But again, and I've said this before, around this table, that if we're talking about taking funds and making it available to very low-income individuals, which is the fundamental criteria, the fact that our loan loss reserve is what it is, and I don't remember the exact but I think it's, what, it was 4%, 3%, maybe 2%? It might even be 2%, is by all standards, like, wow. Really, really low, which means that the overwhelming majority of everything's fine, and then sometimes things happen. And I think we should also just remember that some of these areas just haven't recovered from the Great Recession, and so there just isn't, in a small house, there's just not any equity in there, and that's why we're in this situation. Yet, we still have stronger housing stock, and frankly, helps combat blight in that respective community. So I think it's always worthwhile to continue to talk about this. And have a firm understanding. And I think it's also important to state that, to my knowledge, anyone that's been wanting to take advantage of this program to help improve their housing stock, that we have not, we do not have a shortage of resources to do that. So, we want to make certain that there's enough resources to do that. So that's my comment. But
Any
support, keep
other
talking.
comments? If Commissioner Top.
Yes, I have a couple questions. In the resolution, I don't know which one is, on the budget amendment, totaling $242,260 is recommended for Human Resources Department. What was that all about?
That's to correct the department ID, and that was used for the carry forward request at the end of the year for the completion of the compensation study. So it's not a new appropriation. It's just correcting the department ID within the account stream.
Okay. And then.
What page you on, Shelley?
I'm on page 4 of the resolution.
Okay.
So it'd be from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth whereas from the bottom.
338.
Okay.
And then I had another one. I wanted to also comment on any of the festivals we do. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that the seed money that we provided, as we did for Arts, Beats, and Eats a long time ago, came into fruition, and they're now basically self-sustaining, I hope, Arts, Beats, and Eats.
Self-sustaining?
Yeah, they get sponsors and so on and so forth. But my concern is that I don't know what as Mr. Woodward was questioning this Fire and Ice Festival, I hope they have become self-sustaining as well. Have they yet, or?
The information that I sent to Commissioner Woodward at the end of 2017, over the 4 or 5 years was pretty much even.
Okay.
So I'll update that and I'll send it to Chris so that you can send it to the whole committee.
But that's with our contribution.
No, no, we get sponsorship money from outside parties, and that was offsetting the expenses that we were incurring to pay contractual costs.
And at the very bottom, be it further resolved, one from almost at the end of the whole resolution, you have something about management and budgets officer. Okay. The donations to Children's Village and Animal Control, I couldn't find how much we received there. Sometimes I struggle with this. I like the paper better, but I know it costs more to print paper than it does.
Where's she on 3/4?
So, Children's Village, there was a total of $44,463.39 that was noted in the resolution as being donations, of which was $275 value was cash. The rest was items of donation.
Okay, so that doesn't include the Children's Village Foundation?
No, it does not.
That's a separate entity?
That's separate entity.
Okay, that was one of my questions.
And they're all individually listed at the end, so starting on page 419 of your PDF, everything to Children's Village is listed and everything to,
I know it is, but
okay.
My dad is not the best of the world. I'm not the best operator of it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And I'm trying to get to 419 right now.
Oh, okay.
There's actually 3 pages for Children's Village, so 421 has the total that Lynn mentioned of $44,463.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also 3 pages for the Animal Control Legacy Fund, which those are cash donations.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Woodward.
And I think an accelerating payment to help pay off, I mean, the bottom animal shelter, but where exactly is that located, like in this resolution?
The amendment?
Yeah.
It is located on page 5, or PDF 339. It's the 5th whereas on the page. Do you see the 1.7 million?
Oh, so it's from the personal property?
Well, it's in the, that revenue's in the general fund from the personal property tax loss reimbursement. That's our one-time funding because we received 285% reimbursement versus 100%.
And then the actual budget amendments are shown on page 344 and 347. There's two, the in and out.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we need a roll call vote on number 11.
Long?
Yes.
Tom? Yes. Fleming?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Woodward?
Yes.
Quarles?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Zach?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next is item number 12, Department of Management Budget, fiscal year 2019, fiscal year 2021, revenue estimates. This is information, so I need a motion to receive and file this report. Colwell is moving it, Quarles is supporting it. So go ahead.
Okay, we're getting ready for budget orientations next week. This is our preliminary revenue estimates for that process. We have the analysts review all the general fund, general purpose operations to look for anything significantly that could be changing to start off the budget process. With this, it does not include any changes to property tax revenue at this point. We have to wait for the equalization report to be issued in April. At that time, and as done in the past, we make any adjustments necessary once we receive the equalization report. We have projected with the budget a 5% increase in taxable value. To date, we're not seeing anything that would lead us to believe that that is off target by any means. We have to get through the March Board of Reviews and the tax tribunal process and wait for the equalization report. So besides that, we have built in the revenue sharing that's as reported, as budgeted by the state. That's built in, so there's no significant change there. We do have some changes with charges for services. Overall, the change from what was in the amended plan to the 2019 recommendation is only a $27,000 reduction. So that's out of $463 million. It's quite a small amount, way less than 1%. So we did have some shifting. Some departments in the district courts are projecting an estimate of higher charges for services from court collections. Then that's partially offset by some reductions that are expected by the sheriff's office for civil service serving because of the number of foreclosures are down, but that's offset also by the reduction that they will experience or will amend on their expenditure side. So again, there's not a lot of variance here. 2019, we're expecting with the preliminary revenue estimates a reduction of $27,000. The difference between that and 20 is a $127,000 increase, and then it goes back down by another $56,000 for 2021. So not a lot of variation for these preliminary estimates. Okay.
A lot more rosy report than I heard Bob Dado say over some time.
Obviously, the things that we don't have built into the budget right now, right, is we've submitted our second MIDC plan to the state. That was a communication item on this report. There's been discussion about changing the local share calculation. I mean, a lot of these things could have a major impact on our budget, and we need to wait to see how that's going to shake out.
$10 million hit.
Correct. Our local share calculation right now is about $1.8 million. With the proposed change that they have, I think it's $7.25 per capita. It would add, it would change that local share amount to around $9 million. So,
Not counting the revenue loss.
Not counting, yes. So it's, that could have a major impact on us.
I didn't ask you.
Annually. And
I didn't mean to have you throw.
Sorry.
water. But that's, yeah, thanks for informing us, and we're pretty well aware of that. I think Shelley had a resolution last time on the indigent inmate fund, what it was gonna cost us,
Plus,
so.
we don't know what's gonna happen with the steel and aluminum tariff issue and how that, and NAFTA, and how that affects our economy and property values longer term. So there's still a lot of things we have to be cautious about.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Lynn, or?
No. That's it.
Anybody got any more questions? If not, all those in favor of receive and file signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose the same. Motion carried. Is there any other business to come before the Finance Committee? If not, without objection, I'll declare the meeting adjourned.